Grant Shapps is with me this morning. Mr. Shapps, good morning.
Morning.
You are in the process of declaring the Wagner Group to be a terrorist organisation. Why is it taking so long to do this?
So the Wagner Group have obviously been strongly involved in Ukraine, in Africa and elsewhere. They don't operate in this country in that way. What we're doing today by prescribing them is saying, actually, you can't be a member of that organization. You can't use their emblems and logos, and you can't promote their activities, and doing so could have a 14-year prison sentence. So that's the change today. We're not prescribing them because they operate as they do in Ukraine, exactly, but rather to add them to that list, making them the 79th prescribed organization in this country.
You talk about promoting activities of Wagner. Would that include people on social media, for example, who retweet things, who say that they have sympathy with the aims of Wagner? Will you be looking at them as well? Could they face criminal sanction as a result of that?
So ultimately, of course, it's for the legal system to decide where that cut-off point is, and the CPS and other people who make those decisions. I should just say, actually, in answer to your first point, one of the reasons it takes a little while to do these things is we have to declassify quite a lot of information in order to work with the courts in order to prescribe an organisation. So it's not an instantaneous thing to do. But the British justice system would make those calls on where it breaches the Terrorism Act 2000.
Speaking of a Russian organisation, how concerned are you that Vladimir Putin appears to be talking to North Korea in terms of weapons and weapon supplies?
I'd say it says quite a lot that Putin has run out of friends, is now having to turn to the North Koreans to get what we understand might be weaponry stretching back to the 1960s. And it's part of a pattern here at MOD. We've released information which shows that, for example, Putin is now having to go abroad to recruit personnel, military personnel to his army because, people are not keen to sign up in Russia and not keen to be conscribed. I think even Putin must be realizing that this is not a war in Ukraine that he can win. And that by the time you're having to turn to North Korea for your support, you surely must realize that you've run out of other friends in the world.
Back here at home, Mr. Shapps, I know you've done a lot of domestic briefs and will know domestic policy in the UK very, very well. And of course, your cabinet colleague, Gillian Keegan, is under huge pressure this week because of the rack issue, this concrete in schools. Can you reassure us that the government actually has a grip on this? It has been around for decades. Why didn't they know how to deal with it before now? Why has it waited until crisis point for the government to properly deal with this issue?
So first of all, I'd actually say that, if the government wanted to sit on it, then we wouldn't be in a position at the end of the summer where we're acting on information. What's changed is we have new information over the summer, and I would rather that there is some disruption, unfortunate as that is, than put the safety of children, staff, teachers at risk. So I would say, I suggest your question's the wrong way around. We've actually prioritized the safety of children, even at the risk of some disruption. But just put that into proportion. There are about 22,000 schools and colleges in this country. About 104 are most likely impacted by this. And in many cases, that just means the children won't be educated in one part of the school and move somewhere else. So this is not, at the scale of, for example, what happened to my own kids during COVID, where they had to be home for months on end. This is something altogether different from that, and hopefully will be speedily resolved.
Just on the issue of onshore wind as well, the Conservative Party seems to be easing an effective ban on new onshore wind farms, caving into pressure from backbenchers on that, like Alok Sharma, amending the planning rules to make it easier for onshore wind farms to be built. I mean, you were the Energy Security and Net Zero Secretary until a few days ago. Has Rishi Sunak made up his mind about whether he's green or not green?
I don't think it's a I think you can have, and there's a reason that department's called Energy Security and Net Zero. I don't think they're in conflict. They're two sides of the same coin. And it was never our intention not to allow onshore wind farms to be built. And by the way, we are the world leader in offshore wind farms, where we've got the world's biggest offshore wind farm, and the second and the third and the fourth biggest, all in the North Sea. We've always thought there's more that could be done onshore. It's just that we don't think it should be done to communities, but with communities, and that's what these changes aim to bring about.
Mr. Shapps, you've had 5 jobs in the last year. You were famously Home Secretary for 6 days. Today is, I think, your sixth day as Defence Secretary. Are you hoping to make it to the end of the day to beat your record?
I was going to say, thanks for pointing out, I still need to make it till this evening.
Okay. Do you think you will?
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm confident. Yes, and look, a lot's been made of that, but actually I've also been in the last few years the longest standing, for example, housing minister, I think, for probably 2 decades. I was in transport.
There have been quite a few housing ministers, haven't there?
There have, but I beat them all in terms of my tenure. In transport, I was there for, I think, a good 3.5 years. So there have been occasions where I've been in roles for a very long time. I hope actually the benefit that I can bring to the Ministry of Defence is a huge amount of ministerial and cabinet experience in large, complex infrastructure departments. And that is what I intend to do here, to make the brilliant, brave men and women of our armed forces have the kind of support that they deserve. And that is going to be my #1 task as Defence Secretary.
Well, we wish you well in your new role, and let's hope you make it at least to the end of the day. Mr. Shapps, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Grant Shapps there, the newly appointed Defence Secretary.